Now, it was an amazing night for Jeremy Corbyn. Alan, you described him as useless, incompetent and incapable.
You're reading things into that, and this is... and it's... typical of the mainstream media attacking. So Hislop and his establishment paper, Public Eye, whatever it is.
Yes.
And you just make up these
Can I just say at this point, I'd like to congratulate Jeremy on a very, very good campaign. I'm not serious. He was terrible, but he wasn't as terrible as her. That's all that matters.
We
didn't start from a really low bar. Yes. A huge success. But he's now as successful as Gordon Brown was when he lost.
What's gone wrong? What did I do wrong?
No, nothing. I think
nothing.
No, they're admitting it.
Are we moving on?
Up.
No, it's just...
What, today?
Yeah.
Well, extraordinarily, over the last 5 minutes, Chucker has actually withdrawn his candidacy from the Labour leadership.
This has got to be the most powerful programme on television. We haven't even gone out. At the moment, we're appearing in front of 300 people. That's enough to make a man withdraw his candidacy.
Oh, God.
Bad news, they've just shown your video on Have I Got News For You. I resign! I'm away, I'm off.
Do we have any information why he resigned? Why he...
Yeah, Peston called him amateur. He's gone!
I don't think Labour necessarily lost because they were left. I think it's because they are all over the place. It was an awful campaign.
They're not anymore.
No.
They're mostly in London.
No, but I think Labour are like those restaurants that have really thick menus. You know, and they serve, like, Italian food, breakfast, Chinese. You think, I do not trust these guys. They're just all over the place. It's sort of responsive, and that's the problem. I think they should choose some Labour ideals and just sort of make them appetising again. Sell them.
How about her for leader?
I'd be terrible. I mean, if you think Ed was bad at eating a bacon sandwich, I'm practically feral.
That's your campaign poster. Practically feral.
Not New Labour anymore. No. I hadn't noticed that. They're going to rebrand.
Yeah, Labour.
Labour Classic.
Yeah. They couldn't call themselves New Labour when Blair left. It's like when Mike Nolan left Bucks Fizz. They couldn't call themselves Bucks Fizz anymore.
Labour could go with Bucks Fizz. Champagne socialists, but slightly diluted with orange juice. And the Lib Dems, what are they?
I think they're going to sit this election out. That's probably...
They've got a note from their mother.
I think they'll play the sympathy vote to a certain extent. Just have Nick Clegg topless holding a puppy, just looking into the camera like that.
According to the Sunday Times, what has David Cameron decided to do?
Resign.
No.
Go on holiday.
No, this is about the TV debates.
He's going to debate with Nigel Farage. He's going for the toughest one first.
That's right. Cameron is going to take on Farage. According to the Sunday Times, Cameron wants the TV debates to be in a 2-3-5 formation. So that's Cameron Miliband, Clegg Miliband Cameron, and Farage Cameron Clegg Miliband with Yaya Toure behind the strikers. Thank you for laughing. I don't know what that meant.
Who are the two gangs in the Labour rivalry?
They're called Momentum, which is the Corbynite one, and Progress, which is the other.
Like it's The Apprentice. Oh, my God, they've given themselves stupid names.
There is a serious side to this. The divisions in the Labour Party gave Cameron a much easier time on Wednesday than he should have had, because much of the debate was actually focused about the internal battles in the Labour Party, where it should have been focused on dismantling what was a threadbare case for bombing in Syria.
According to one embattled Labour MP, every day is like opening an advent calendar of shit. What did one of Corbyn's most loyal supporters, Diane Abbott, do in a shadow cabinet meeting?
Light an advent candle?
Be dangerous. According to the Sunday Times, Diane Abbott tried to do an impression of shadow education spokesperson Lucy Powell. One source told the Sunday Times she's no Mike Yarwood. The performance was so dire that Corbyn loyalist John Cryer considered voting for bombing just on the basis of her contribution.
How much do you blame Corbyn for the referendum result? You even thought Corbyn voted Leave, didn't you?
I think a lot of the arguments that Jeremy put helped the Leave campaign.
Do you still think he will go down in history as the man who broke the Labour Party, as you said?
Well, everything's to... The Labour Party's got to be mended, that's the truth. And I don't like Mrs May and the way she's leading the country, so I hope that Labour can pull itself together.
That's definitely not a straight answer to a straight
That was about as skew-if an answer as I could possibly give.
Oh, Jeremy's in!
I think people know you think Jeremy Corbyn's an idiot. I mean, you've said it so many times. Why stop now?
But there's plenty of people who move in and out of the shadow cabinet, and they've said even worse things than Chris has. So don't try and restrict his future career.
I'm sorry.
No, just by trying to get him to, you know, confirm what he's already said many times is pretty underhand. Leave him alone.
I'm a bit worried that Ian Hislop is supporting me. And,
I'm not.
You know,
Did you know what he called you to?
Sickening capitalist lickspittles.
Pretty much. Sneering media commentariat.
I like the commentariat bit.
Yeah.
Just a Soviet hint there.
Why would he say that about you, Camilla?
I said that I was a little bit in love with him only 2 months ago, so I don't know why he would say that.
Well, I'll tell you other things you've said about him is he is a turbo weirdo.
Correct.
A weaponised lentil. An extraordinary half-resuscitated...
But anyway, this is the Labour conference. It didn't go as badly as everyone hoped. And in the end, Corbyn was not very good.
I have to say, I like him. I think as a person, I do. I like him as a person. I think
Have you met him, though?
if he was on Bake Off, which is how I judge these things. First couple of weeks, you think, oh, I'm not sure about the Grumpy, I'm not sure about Jeremy. Then you just go, oh, I love that. Wasn't it lovely when Elaine dropped that flan and Jeremy picked it up? I think if he was on... if he was on Bake Off and Cameron was on Bake Off, he would win the next election. I don't know if that's how they're doing it, but if they do...
That's certainly news, that the election's decided by Bake Off now.
Ian, it's the new politics.
You're absolutely right. Of course, it is the first conference for Corbyn as leader, and obviously it was slightly derailed at the end by this nuclear business.
Tell me about Trident. I understand the reason why we had Trident immediately after this, you know, the Bay of Pigs and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Why have we still got this? Why have we got this submarine? What is it protecting us from?
Originally it was...
Is it attacks on the underground?
No, no attacks on buildings. It was there originally to protect us against the Russians during the Cold War. And
but that sort of war's moved on now, isn't it?
Yeah, but one of the things about this week is it just reminds you that the Russians are still there.
Yeah, but I've got a box of hay under my bed that keeps the elephants away. You know, it's the same thing with Trident. It's really difficult to prove that it's sort of doing what it's meant to have done.
It is very difficult to prove. I mean,
because my box of hay doesn't cost 120 billion quid, you see. Well, it does keep the elephants away.
No elephants.
No elephants.
Have we got on question time?
CBeebies, I think.
Also, he was asked a straight question and he gave a genuine answer. They asked a question, which they always do for politicians. We'll ask them a question that's impossible to answer. So, would you ever press the nuclear button? If you say no, then you have this reaction. If you say yes, you say, well, you've always said you wouldn't do. So he can't answer it. So what does he do? He actually told the truth.
Yeah.
And no one's done that for a long time.
No,
Definitely question time.
Whether he is right or wrong, I think that's quite a refreshing way to deal with it.
I think the problem was that he then changed his mind afterwards, which is not great if you've got your finger hovering above the nuclear button, to be fair.
I had a bit of sympathy when he said he'd never press that button under any circumstances, because I'm the same with the ITV2 button on my remote.
What is ITV2?
You will find out soon enough, Jeremy.
Just rotate your televisions for this. Here's the first one.
Beep.
Buzz.
Yes, that's Jeremy Corbyn waving goodbye as his tenure as leader of the Labour Party is coming to a close. His watch is facing the wrong way, but he's saying goodbye, having sort of lost heavily at the last general election.
Yes, This is the very bad news for the Conservative Party that last week Jeremy Corbyn stood down as leader of the opposition. What did Corbyn finally admit to last week? Ian?
He admitted that he'd been right all along and that the country was now in a perfect socialist state in which the government paid everyone's wages, there were police on the streets arresting you for going outside, and it was what he'd always wanted. It was a pity it had taken a virus to do it, but apart from that, he'd been absolutely right all along.
How did Corbyn sign off his last PMQs as Labour leader?
He sent a letter to Boris Johnson which outlined his 5-point plan for what he thinks Boris Johnson should do, but there was only one problem with it. It had 6 points.
Well, he's not the only one in the party who can't count, is he? No.
Oh, someone's entered Miles's house.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I think someone's moving furniture. Yeah. I'll find out when this is over.
It's the bailiffs.
What will we all remember about Jeremy Corbyn?
The number of people who wouldn't let him finish?
Probably when he did this.
Private rented, poor lives.
Why are you remaining neutral?
Can I finish, please? Areas that have different views on it, as indeed...
So you bring Brexit voices in?
Can I finish? Thank you. I think we've fought a very good piece of opposition to what the government's been doing.
Leave voters, Jeremy. Leave voters may argue that they are betrayed.
Can I finish, please?
I think you have. With everything that's going on in the world, this is the story that's dominated the front page of the Morning Star. Jeremy Corbyn says the government's unprecedented financial bailout proves that he was right. Really, I don't remember him predicting a worldwide pandemic because some bloke in China ate a mongoose. Also, still in the race are Rebecca Long-Bailey and Lisa Nandy. Really, though, I thought they'd shut all the Nandys.
Right, round 2, the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, here you go. Richard, what's this about?
This was the news that Kier Starmer was elected leader of the Labour Party, replacing Jeremy Corbyn, and replacing indeed a lot of Corbyn supporters in the shadow cabinet as he went along. And his he made it a big priority to reach out in particular to the Jewish community, which he felt the previous regime had perhaps alienated a little bit. I think getting circumcised live on the One show was taking it a bit far, but we look forward to a newly revived relationship between the Labour Party and its traditional Jewish members.
Very traditional members, if he's got circumcised.
Yes, this is the news that Kier Starmer has been elected the leader of the Labour Party after winning a landslide victory. The New Statesman described the scale of the win as unexpected. Yes, the words Labour and landslide victory don't often go together. What has his convincing victory allowed Kier Starmer to change?
Well, a lot of the cabinet, the shadow cabinet. So I'm getting ahead of myself. It's the government of national unity. By the time you see this, we may have one. Kier Starmer may have stepped in. It wouldn't be a bad idea. But he's got rid of a lot of old Corbynites.
Yes, notable departures include Richard Bergen, who last year gave us so many wonderful moments, like this one.
We want the Tories out as soon as possible. We want to sort out Brexit. We also want to sort out austerity, which has lasted for 9 years.
Polls say you won't win.
Pardon?
The polls say you won't win.
The polls said we wouldn't win last time.
You didn't.
But
Speaking about Bergen's departure, one MP told The Sun this week, "I just feel sorry for the village that's getting its idiot back." Who is back in the shadow cabinet?
Ed Miliband's back.
He is. The Sun in particular was delighted to see Ed Miliband return to frontline politics. What pun headline did they welcome his appointment with?
Miliband of brothers.
Milli Vanilli.
Yeah.
Milli Vanilli.
Brilliant.
It was later discovered that Ed Miliband was miming to his own speeches.
They went with, "Look who's back, Bacon."
Ooh.
Strictly speaking, is that a pun?
It's not really a pun, is it? It's more a collection of words that don't really belong together.
And you have to remember a photograph of him eating bacon.
They did print that snap next to the headline. Here it is. Yeah. Unable to eat a bacon sandwich. The last time the Labour leader was in step with the Jewish community. This is the news that Kier Starmer has been made leader of the Labour Party. You must have noticed it. It was all over page 19 of the Mirror. One of Kier Starmer's first decisions as leader was to appoint Ed Miliband as the shadow business secretary. Ed is currently in isolation. Nothing to do with the virus, it's just his family still won't talk to him after he shafted his brother. Kier Starmer also appointed leadership rival Wigan MP Lisa Nandy to the role of Shadow Foreign Secretary. She'll now be in charge of dealing with parts of the world foreign to Labour, like the North.